What? Yeah, we'll go, yeah, we'll have a little refresher course. I'd like to call our meeting to order and welcome everyone to our first live meeting in quite a while. So I apologize, we're kind of between two systems. In the past, we always had paper when we met here, and everything's online, and I'm used to having my meetings with 2 or 3 screens. And so if we're slow, please accept our apologies up front. First order of business before we even call roll call is I'd like to welcome our new members. Judith Rosenthal is our first alternate. Rick Lombardi is our second alternate, and Stephen Hutler is our third alternate. So I'd like to welcome you and thank you for serving on the zoning board. And with that, I'd like to call the meeting to order. And Mr. Heaney, if you can call roll call.
James Miller.
Here.
Thomas Silvera.
Here.
Eric Curtin.
Here.
Chris Souza. Absent. Judith Rosenthal.
Here.
Rick Lombardi.
Here.
Stephen Hutler.
Here.
Second order of business is going to be the review of the continued cases. And what I'm going to do is, we're going to go through as an overview and just see where they're at. I believe a lot of them are going to be continued. If any are going to go to a full hearing, if the attorneys or the applicants can let us know. So with that, Mr. Heaney, can you start with the continued cases from May 25th?
Petition of A1 Roofing and Construction LLC owners by their attorney, David P. Martland, and that's at 990 Aquidneck Avenue.
Mr. Martland?
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I sent in a request earlier this week, or maybe late last week, to Mr. Costa indicating that the engineer, Mike Russell, has a conflict tonight, and therefore we would have to request a continuance of that to the September meeting. We've gone through development plan review, and that's ready to go forward, but Mr. Russell unfortunately had a conflict this evening with the Coastal Resource Management Council meeting occurring at the same time.
Okay, so that's going to be the 9/28 meeting?
28.
Thank you.
Don't go, I think you're the next one on the list.
You are. On the Pond LLC owners and Diego's Middletown LLC applicant by their attorney, David P. Martland Esquire, 116 Aquidneck Avenue, and this is for both a special use and a variance.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. As well, Mike Russell is also the engineer on that, and therefore I've requested a continuance to the September 28th meeting.
Okay, so we're going to push that to September 28th as well. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Martland.
Petition of John Sylvia III and Kate Sylvia owners, 749 Mitchell's Lane.
Yes, that's ready hearing.
You ready to go forward this evening?
We are.
Okay, thank
Thank
you. We'll be back, we'll revisit you.
Be back around.
Yep.
Telly Amarant and Elizabeth Amarant owners by their attorney Christopher J. Bean Esquire, 163 Aquidneck Avenue.
Mr. Chairman, I did have a conversation with Mr. Bean this afternoon. This matter needs to be re-advertised, and he's filing an amended petition, so is asked that that matter be continued to the September 28th meeting.
Okay, we're going to continue that to 9/28/21.
And that would be both on the special use permit and the variance.
Okay.
Thomas and Ella Auchincloss owners by their attorney David P. Martland Esquire, 233 Third Beach Road.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. This matter requires an advisory opinion from the Conservation Commission. The Conservation Commission has not yet met to consider this matter, so I'd request that this be continued to the September meeting. I would think we will be in position to go forward at that meeting.
Okay, so we're going to continue that to 9/21,
Thank you.
9/28.
Benjamin J. Contessa, owner, 183 Walcott Avenue, again for a special use and variance.
Mr. Contessa, are you ready to go forward this evening?
No, sir, I'm going to, I was advised to address it with the planning board, my application regarding the survey that needs to be revised or updated. So I'm gonna ask for a 2-month continuance.
So we're referring this to planning, is that what I understand?
Yeah, for an update on his plan, yes.
Okay, that's fine. We're going to refer this then to planning, and then we'll continue it into the October 26th meeting.
Very
Yeah,
good.
and Mr. Contessa will actually have to file an application with a subdivision application with planning.
Okay,
But you
Yes,
can
I
speak with
understand.
Mr. Wolanski about that.
Okay,
Great.
great.
okay, so we're going
Thank
to
you.
continue this to 10/26.
Petition of David Shrake, applicant, Sean and Kyrie Slade, owners, 614 and 616 Green End Avenue.
Mr. Strake, are you going to be ready to go forward this evening?
Yes, we are.
That's
Got
all?
the special use permit.
Okay, that's all we need for now. We're going to go through the whole list, and then we'll circle back.
And
So-
also variance, you have both.
So we'll hear both of those.
Sens Corporation, owner, and GD Middletown, West Main, I LLC, applicant at 0 West Main Road, for both a special use and a variance.
Mr. Chairman, I believe that's still under review by the town engineer with regard to the relocation of an easement. Mr. Martland may have some more updated information than I do on it.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I represent the owner of the property. Mr. Lynch represents the applicant. They are still undertaking the development plan review process, which has been stalled as a result of relocating the sewer easements. We're working with the town engineer and the solicitor and providing revised easements and subordination documents for the existing mortgages to make sure that the town easement is in first place. So I think Mr. Lynch would ask that this be continued 1 month.
To September.
Please.
Okay, so we're going to continue this to the 9/28 meeting.
And the last continuance is Newport National Real Estate LLC, owners, represented by their attorney, Robert M. Silva Esquire. This is at 425 Mitchell's Lane.
Good evening, Mr. Silva.
Good evening, Mr. Member, members of the board and chairman. On this matter, we are just before the planning board. We've been given our first technical review committee hearing on September the 1st, and we're scheduled to be before the planning board as a full body on the 8th of September. But two of the principals and some of the engineers are not available, so it would seem to me that we're not going to be able to get to the full planning board until October. So with that being said, I think that we should at least ask for a continuance to the zoning board's October hearing rather than to the 28th of,
Mr. Silva, we're going to continue this to the 26th of October per your request.
thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. That concludes our continued hearings. The next order of business are summary hearings. Summary hearings are those requirements that are less than 25% relief. They're really minor setbacks, relief requirements generally. So what will happen is Mr. Heaney's going to read the full case in. If there's no objectors to the case, then we're gonna vote on it as a summary case. So Mr. Heaney, if you can read the next one.
Petition of Charles Russ, owner, for a variance from section 603 and 903 to construct a 10-foot by 12-foot rear deck addition to an existing deck to access pool, resulting in a 19-foot rear yard setback where 30 feet is required. Said real estate is located at 8 Colony Drive and further identified as Lot 94 on Tax Assessor's Plat 105.
Is there anyone here that would like to speak either for or against it? Okay, so that means we're gonna just take it to a vote. Can I have a motion to accept it as presented?
I'll make a motion to accept the petition as presented.
Motion made by Mr. Curtin. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Silvera. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 5-0. So now what we'll do, Mr. Heaney, we're going to roll back to, I will put a one next to Mr. Sylvia and Kate Sylvia. That'll be our first hearing.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
do you want to go through the new petitions, just in case any of those are being continued, in case anyone's here for those?
Good suggestion.
Thank you.
Very good suggestion, Mr. So what we're going to do is we're going to just read, we're going to read off the name of the petitioner and the address and see if you're ready to go forward or if you're continuing. That way we can accelerate our process tonight. So go ahead with the new petitions, Mr. Heaney.
Petition of Kathleen and Arthur Weber, owners, 145 Island Drive.
Mr. Weber, you ready to go forward this evening? Yes, sir. Okay, thank you. Next petition.
Petition of Thomas W. and Janice C. Kolowaski, owners at 9 Beachland Place.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Robert Silva, attorney for the Kowalczyk. They are here ready to proceed.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Silva.
Petition of Frank and Eleanor Fenchner, owners, and Dan Kopsack, applicant, 576 Tuckerman Avenue.
Mr. Chairman, I received a call this afternoon from attorney Danielle Dufault, who had just been retained to represent the applicants, who had requested that this matter be continued to the September meeting. Also spoke with attorney Jackson, who represents the abutters, and agreed to that continuance.
So we're going to continue to the 9/28 meeting.
Petition of Joseph Zeman, owner, 18 Draper Avenue.
Are you ready to go forward this evening? Okay, thank you.
Petition of Beck and Jacqueline Bennett, owner, 333 Turner Road.
Are you ready to go forward this evening? Yes, sir. Okay, thank you. Now we can go back. Mr. Heaney, if you can read the full petition of the Sylvia petition.
Petition of John Sylvia III and Kate Sylvia, owners, for a variance from section 603, 701, and 803C to construct a new living room / kitchen addition to the existing family dwelling, which results in a front yard setback of 19 feet 4 inches where 40 feet is required. Said real estate is located at 749 Mitchell's Lane and further identified as Lot 107 on Tax Assessor's Plat 124.
Good evening, Mr. Martland.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the record, David Martland from the Law Office of Silva, Thomas, Martland, and Offenberg. With me today, I've got J.J. Sylvia, who is an owner and applicant with his wife, Kate. And I've got Spencer McComb, who's the architect who's designed the plans. If I could give the board a brief overview of the project here. The Sylvias live in this home at 749 Mitchell's Lane. It is a home that's been in the Sylvia family for many generations. It's located on the westerly side of Mitchell's, and it's got a home, single-family home that was originally built in the 1700s, and it was moved to Mitchell's Lane in about 1810. The home was placed in its present spot on the lot, and when you overlay the current zoning, which is an R60 zoning in this particular district, nearly all of the house is located in the front yard setback. There's a septic system and related equipment and a well and whatnot located to the rear of the existing structure. The Sylvias are looking to undertake a modest expansion of the home to help accommodate a reasonable living for today's family. The proposal is to construct the addition to the north of the existing structure, and that would be located within that front yard setback. So it's going to maintain the same face. It's not going to encroach any further into the front yard setback, but it's going to just sort of maintain that existing front edge of the existing structure that's there. So because the home encroaches presently, it's deemed to be a non-conforming structure, and therefore we need to seek the special use permit as well as the dimensional variance from the board for this expansion. With me, again, I've got Spencer McComb, and I'd like to call Spencer up to testify regarding the plans that he's put together and the planning that went into that. Unfortunately, I thought, and it's my fault for not checking, it's been 18 months since we've been here and presented a case, but at that point, we were utilizing the screen, so we didn't bring any larger blow-ups of any of the plans. I assume that the board may have copies of the plans that were submitted in their packets. Okay. Spencer?
Raise your right hand. Do you swear the testimony this evening will be the whole testimony, the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
State your name and address for the record.
Spencer McComb, 42 West Main Road, Middletown, Rhode Island.
Okay, Spencer.
Spencer, you were retained by the Sylvias to help plan the proposed project, is that correct?
That's right.
And could you explain what this project is? What is being built? Why is it being built?
Sure, there's a very old, and the owner can tell us the exact year, but 1800s building, very small, very, I don't want to say poorly built. It was probably built well for its time, but it's been, over 100 years of life on that building. So a lot of the floors are really sagged out and needs a rehab. And because of the small footprint and the growing family of my client, they would like to add to it. The unique situation here is that this building is built way before zoning was even a thing, maybe even before Mitchell's Lane was even there. And it's closer to the road than zoning would allow today. So the addition options for him are fairly limited. Going straight back puts you right into the garage and the septic field that's right behind the house. To the left is the only driveway, only curb cut, which would ever be allowed or is not going to be moving. So our only option was to go to the other side or along the face of the house. And so the addition really was to try to preserve the existing house that has been in my client's family for years, which we'll hear from in a minute, but also do an addition that pays homage to that. So you'll see the addition has a small connector and then a gambrel that's actually turned to the street. Also, when you look at the building, much like we would design a historic district house, allows the building to be renovated and brought back to its initial glory, but the addition is different and apart from it to the point that when you glance at the house, you see the age of the house from what it is.
So, in your opinion as an expert, would the existing placement of the house create a hardship with respect to building an addition?
For sure. The building, like I just said, is built completely, almost completely in the front setback. So any addition left or right or forward would be in the addition, in the setback. There's plenty of yard space, so the lot coverage is no problem whatsoever. It's just to add on to this house, this is really the only option that they have, based on the unique characteristics of the home and the lot.
I don't have any further questions from Mr. McComb if the board.
Does the board have any questions of Mr. McComb?
No.
Any questions? Judith, any questions? No, I think we're good.
Thank you. If I could call Mr. Sylvia.
Mr. Sylvia, if you can raise your right hand, please. Do you swear the testimony this evening will be the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
State your name and address for the record.
John Sylvia III, 749 Mitchell's Lane, Uptown.
Thank you. Yeah. That way you can speak right into it.
Yeah, you've got that. Mr. Sylvia, you own the property that's the subject of this petition tonight?
Yes, I do.
And you own it with your wife, Kate?
Yeah, she's present as well.
Oh.
Yeah.
And you live there with your children?
That's correct.
How long have you been in this property?
So I've been residing here since 2010, personally. The property's been in the family since around 1952.
And the home was built during what period of time?
So I think it was the original Ogden farmhouse, which was located about 900 yards up the road. Back in, I think the town record says 1700, we're not quite sure. And what my grandfather told me was it was moved with oxen and roller in 1810, set on a fieldstone foundation, and that's where it is today. Originally a really small lot, and we expanded. Actually, where this addition is going, the original lot was even smaller. You can see it on the map. So that additional lot was added later on, and that's really fortunate for us. Otherwise, it'd be even worse.
And so the house itself is pretty small, pretty tight.
Yes.
It was a 1700s farmhouse.
Yes.
And you're seeking to accommodate your family with this addition, with reasonable accommodations.
That's correct.
Now, the existing dwelling already encroaches into the front yard, is that right?
Yes, it is.
And because of that unique characteristic, that has created hardship for which you're seeking relief.
It has.
You're not aware of any objections from any neighbors?
Not aware.
Now, there's no physical or economic disability associated with this request.
Not to my knowledge.
And you have doing this request isn't the result of your desire to have a financial gain.
No, we're actually an actual resident asking for a variance. So it's actually our house, and we hope to be in it for a long time, especially if we can expand it.
And in your opinion, do you believe that this would alter the general character of the area and be an enhancement to
I think Mr. McComb said it best. We're trying to be reverent to the original design. We like the home. If I'm being honest, we were told, well, maybe you should just completely rebuild something else, which would have been a completely different problem. But we think it's an important piece of history. We like that it's been in the family. And as Spencer had mentioned, we're trying to do this expansion so that it fits the character of the house, which in essence, was built before Middletown was Middletown, 1700. So we want to keep it. And we want it, even with the expansion, we want to keep it looking like it was, to the best that we can.
I don't have any further questions for Mr. Sylvia.
Let me see if anyone on the board have any questions for Mr. Sylvia?
You talked about having additional property there. You do have quite a nice lot there. Did you consider moving the building at all?
Yeah, it's not feasible for reasons that I think Mr. McComb mentioned with the engineered septic and the runs, the topography of the land. It was something that we thought might be possible. It's just not, that's really not economically feasible. I also wonder, the house being over 200 years old,
Right.
if that
If it
would
can
even be
survive that.
advisable. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, we looked at barn movers before we even called Mr. McComb, thinking maybe that's an option. It wasn't. So
Okay.
I would love for the house to be exactly the way it is, another 25 feet further away from the road with the fire trucks and so forth, but unfortunately it is what it is, and that's why we're here today.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Sylvia. Mr. Martling, do you have anything else?
I don't have anything further, Chairman.
Let me see if anyone would like to speak either for or against the petition. Is there anyone present that would like to speak either for or against the petition? Seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing. Can I have a motion to accept the petition as presented?
I'll make the motion to grant petition.
I'll second.
First by Mr. Sylvia, second by Eric Curtin. Discussion?
I'm going to vote in favor of it. I think that, given the fact that they're not encroaching any further into the front yard setback, the fact that they want to keep something that's been historically part of Middletown for, but 200-300 years, I guess, now, and really just trying to have a family be able to expand into it. To me, is the least relief necessary. I also think it's going to fit into the surroundings and have no ill effects on any of the neighbors.
Any other discussion?
Yeah, I'm also going to support it. I think in terms of the comprehensive plan for the town, one of the things stated in the comprehensive plan is that we want to maintain the character of Middletown as a farming town. And I think this is obviously speaking exactly to that, not necessarily a requirement, but desire. And I think, again, your design, based on what Mr. McComb has said, is not only going to enhance the existing building, but it's going to match it with the extension. And as my colleague said, it doesn't increase the nonconformity at all by choosing the direction of the building in the direction that you've gone into to the north.
Thank you. I, too, am going to support the petition. I think it's a reasonable request, and it's the least relief necessary to satisfy the needs of the homeowner. So I, too, am going to vote for it. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried 5-0. Thank you. Next one is Shrake. So we'll do the special use permit first?
Special use and then
Yes.
variance, okay. Petition of David Shrake, applicant, and Sean and Kyrie Slade, owners, for a special use permit from section 803A to construct a one-story, two-stall garage. Said real estate is located at 614 and 616 Green End Avenue, and further identified as Lot 13 on Tax Assessor's Plat 120.
Good evening. Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear the testimony this evening will be the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Make sure you speak into the mic.
Yes, I do.
Yeah. You will. Well, no, we're going to Mr. Regan, point of order, do we have to read the variance now, or can we?
You
just-
should.
Okay,
You
go ahead.
should, for the
Give
record,
us 1
please.
second.
Petition of David Shrake applicant and Sean and Kyrie Slade owners for a variance from sections 603, 701, and 803G to construct a 26-foot by 28-foot, one-story, two-stall garage resulting in a 12-foot west side setback where 30 feet is required. Said real estate is located at 614 and 616 Green End Avenue and further identified as Lot 13 on Tax Assessor's Plat 120.
Raise your right hand again. Just state your name and address for the record.
I'm David Shrake. I live at 864 Wapping Road, Portsmouth, Rhode Island.
Okay, and you're the owner of the property?
No, I'm the contractor. The owners are here.
Okay. It really should be the owner speaking.
That's fine with me. I mean, I'll help them.
Okay, yeah, it should be the applicant speaking.
Okay.
Good evening. I'm
Hi,
Sean.
raise your right hand, please, and your wife too at the same. Do you swear the testimony this evening will be the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
State your names and address for the record.
Sean Slade, 614-616 Green End Avenue, Middletown.
Carrie Slade, 616-614 Green End Avenue, Middletown, Rhode Island.
Tell us in your own words about your project. What are you trying to accomplish?
We just would like to construct a two-stall garage to have a place to put our vehicles in the weather, a place to do projects and storage.
Okay. And
So currently you you rent out the front house and live in the back, or vice versa?
Yes, sir.
And the reason why we're doing a special use permit, Mr. Costa, is because it's a non-conforming use?
Because the two families.
Yes, having two dwellings on the one lot renders him non-conforming.
Okay.
And there'd be no plumbing or, I mean,
Correct.
you'll have
No
electricity, but
plumbing.
you aren't gonna have any plumbing in
There
it?
will be electricity.
Right. Have you talked to your neighbors about it?
I have.
And have there been any objections?
None that we're aware of. I was able to get a letter of, a request letter from my neighbor at 608,
Mhm.
who has zero problems with it. I was,
Would be the one we would be encroaching to.
that's our abutter to the west.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he has no issues with the proposed plan. And my neighbor to the east, I wasn't able to get a letter from him at all.
The neighbor to the west that gave you the letter, do you have his name?
Yeah, James Morris.
James? Thank you.
Yeah, do you have a copy of that letter, or did you submit it? It's not in my packet. Okay, we'll find that. It might be in this one. Hold on 1 second.
He's on the letters list.
I'm also aware that all of my abutters received a letter regarding this proposal, and I've had conversations with all of them, and nobody has brought anything to attention regarding that.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for the petitioner? Any questions for?
It's a reasonable request for residential use.
Let me open it up to the public and see if anyone would like to speak either for or against it, so.
Okay.
Is there, you can sit down. Anyone here present that would like to either speak for or against the proposal?
You want the engineer?
Oh, he's a contractor. We don't really need the contractor to speak, so, not to waste your time, but, yeah. I know, I understand. Seeing that there's no input from the public, I'm gonna close the public hearing. and ask for a motion to accept, first, we're gonna accept the special use permit. And do I have a motion to accept the special use permit?
I'll make the motion.
And I'll second.
Tom Silvera, Eric Curtin. Discussion?
Well, I'm gonna vote in favor, but because I believe it's a reasonable, request for a residential property.
Any other discussion? I too, the special use is here because it's the non-conforming use, so no matter what you did on the property, we would ask you to get a special use permit. The special use permit is there really to protect the neighborhood, and I think what you're doing is gonna have very little impact. There's 5 criteria, and you're not gonna impact any of them, so I too am gonna support it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Special use carries 5-0. Next, I'd ask that I get a motion to accept the dimensional variance as presented.
I'll make a motion to accept the dimensional variance
Eric
as
Curtin
presented.
first. Do I have a second?
I'll
Come on.
second it.
I was gonna let Judith get it.
Oh.
Would you like to second it?
I second it, yes.
Thank you. That's okay. Discussion?
Wait a second.
Discussion on the variance?
I mean, considering it's owner occupied, you know,
Right.
and it truly is for storage. They're not putting plumbing in it. There's no risk of it being
And it's a
another
very
rental
narrow
unit.
lot,
Exactly.
so. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Next one is, yep, I gotta find it.
Okay.
Go ahead and read it.
Next petition is under the new petitions. Petition of Kathleen and Arthur Weber owners for a dimensional variance from sections 603 to permit the construction of an addition to a single-family residence located 45 feet from the rear northern property line where 50 feet is required. Said real estate is located at 145 Island Drive and further identified as Lot 814 on Tax Assessor's Plat 117.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to recuse.
Okay, thank you.
As am I, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Desautel's here to advise if you need.
Hey, Marissa. Thanks.
And Mr. Chairman, I'm going to recuse also.
Oh, maybe I can. Let me give you a recusal form.
Everyone else is done.
Here you go. Thank you. Mr. Weber, raise your right hand, please. Do you swear the testimony this evening will be the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
State your name and address for the record.
Arthur S. Weber Jr., 145 Island Drive, Middletown.
Tell us about your project, Mr. Weber.
My wife and I want to build a first-floor bedroom so that when we get older, we're already pretty old now, but we want to stay in our house as long as we can. We have a completed plan, and in order to get a building permit, we need some minor relief. I'm going to have my architect, Dan H., describe that to you, please.
Dan, raise your right hand, please. Do you swear the testimony this evening will be the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
State your name and address for the record.
Dan Herkenrother, 36 Aquidneck Avenue, Middletown, Rhode Island.
Thank you, Dan.
Yes, so the rear addition here, we looked at other locations. When you look at the site plan on A502, on the right side of the plan is the garage. We can't go there. The left side of the plan, there's no plumbing on that side of the house, so we couldn't go on that side. And then on the rear of the house, it's hemmed in between the existing bulkhead to the left and an existing staircase to the right. That staircase is the only means of egress to the room above the garage. So we were kind of forced with that 17-foot wide width And the addition's only 425 square feet, which is a pretty modest size. It's just a bedroom and a closet. And it's also located there because there's existing plumbing where the existing bathroom is. So the location of that works well with the existing plumbing that's already there. So the 425 square foot addition's pretty modest. Also, there is no rear neighbor. It's conservation land back there, so it doesn't really abut any houses. The only houses are the houses to the left and right, and they are probably 150 or 200 feet away from this addition, so there really isn't much of an impact. And again, we're only asking for 5 feet of a 50-foot, so it's 10%. It's a pretty minor relief on that rear setback. And with this addition, we are still under 11% on lot coverage too.
Thanks. Any questions for Dan? Any questions?
Why couldn't this have been a summary?
Yeah, right.
I don't know.
Okay.
It probably could have been a summary.
I
so
just asked, that's okay.
It's minor relief. Thank you,
Okay.
Dan.
Thank you.
Is there anyone in the audience that would like to either speak for or against the petition? Seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing and ask for a motion to accept the petition as presented.
I make a motion to accept the petition as presented.
Motion made by Ms. Rosenthal, and do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Silvera. Discussion?
I'm gonna vote in favor of it. I believe the relief is reasonably necessary for full enjoyment of a permitted use. It's not the first person that's come that said they need a first floor bedroom. And good luck to you, sir.
Any other discussion?
I'm also going to vote in favor of it. It seems to be that the going to the back is going to have the least impact on the neighbors.
Yeah, I too am going to vote in favor of it. I think it's the least relief necessary. And I think as Mr. Curtin said, the direction that you're going in is going to have very little impact on the neighborhood. So with that, I'd ask for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Mr. Weber.
Cancellation.
So that's all of May, right? Yes, you do. Thank you.
Yeah.
We are just trucking. And that's what I
Yeah, right. Right here.
I lost my agenda.
I've got
No, I've been keeping track of everything. Okay, you're gonna have to guide me because I don't have it anymore. My agenda. Yeah, there, I got it. We're back. We're in business. I got it. I found it. Thank you. That could have been a summary piece. Yeah.
I just asked the question.
No, that's a good question. No. Okay. Yeah, read them both, but we'll start with the special use.
Okay, petition of Thomas W. and Janice C. Kowalski, owners, and Jeffrey and Kathleen Snyder, applicant, and by their attorney, Robert M. Silva Esquire, for a special use from Section 1601, Article 16, to permit the construction of an accessory family dwelling as an addition to the existing single-family dwelling to be occupied by Thomas W. and Janice C. Kowalski. Said real estate is located at 9 Beastland Place and further identified as Lot 192 on Tax Assessor's Plat 109 Northeast. Also, petition of Thomas W. and Janice C. Kowalski, owners, and Jeffrey and Kathleen Schneider applicant by their attorney, Robert M. Silva Esquire, for a variance from section 603, table 0-2, to allow the construction of an accessory family dwelling unit with a side yard setback of 3 feet where 20 feet is required, and a front yard setback of 14 feet 5 inches where 40 feet is required. Said real estate is located at 9 Beachland Place and further identified as Lot 192 on Tax Assessor's Plat 109 Northeast.
Good evening, Mr. Silva.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Could I just, for purposes of the record, identify myself, Robert M. Silva, member of the firm of Silva Thomas Martlin and Orphanberg, 1100 Aquidneck Avenue, Middletown, Rhode Island. For purposes of this hearing, if I could verify the sitting members are everyone except Mr. Hutler and Mr. Lombardi. Is that
That's
correct?
correct.
Yeah, thank you. I'm actually representing Lieutenant Commander Jeffrey Schneider and his wife Catherine. And Catherine is the daughter of Thomas and Janice Kowalczyk. The Kowalczyks have owned 9 Beachland Place in Middletown for many, many years. That's a single-family home. It's on Plat 109 Northeast, and it's known as Lot 192. And the Kowalczyks, I believe, purchased that or built that property. They've been there since 1981. And similar to Mr. Weber's explanation that Father Time always wins and that you sometimes need bedrooms on the first floor, in this case, Father Time has suggested to Tom and Janice that they would prefer not to have to live in the main house, but would like to have their son-in-law and daughter occupy and probably end up owning the house, and they would be more than happy to live in a small little in-law apartment adjacent and connected to the main house. We submitted for your consideration site plans, and the site plan will show that the existing house is on a cul-de-sac, Beachland Place. It's not a usual sized or configured lot. It's unusual with the diameter being on the roundabout, if you will, or the cul-de-sac. The house itself is placed in such a position that it becomes very, very difficult to add an apartment except in the place where the plan shows it's proposed to be. It has, right now, 2,164 square feet, and the addition, not including the garage, is 1,139 square feet. And that ends up meeting the requirements of Article 16, that the addition be a maximum of, a minimum, excuse me, of 400 square feet and no greater than 35% of the existing home's floor area. And that would mean that we cannot exceed 1,156.5 square feet, and our proposal is 1,139 square feet. So we fall within the requirements of Section 16. The adjacent properties do not really, to the east on the plan, to the side yard line, that's a huge parcel owned by the City of Newport Water Department. There aren't any homes there at all, and we're asking permission to construct the apartment complex 3 feet from the property line. We have indicated to the Water Department that we will not be incurring any adverse impact to their property. It's just a hope open area that's preserved for watershed protection. The lots across the street have all been notified of what we want to do, and to Mr. Kowalczyk's understanding, nobody has raised a concern to him, and I don't believe there's been any concern placed with Mr. Costa's office as well. The living addition is meant to accommodate the Kowalczyks because of their age and the fact that they don't need a 2,164 square foot living area in their home, and they want to be able to stay in Beachland Place, build the addition, and have their daughter and son-in-law move in eventually. The variance relief is modest. It's 3 feet to the east, where 20 feet is required, and again, there aren't any homes or dwellings in that direction. And the front yard setback is required because it's on the cul-de-sac to be 40 feet, but the front yard now on the cul-de-sac would only be 14.5 feet from the garage area around the plan, which would be a part of the dwelling proposal. The provisions of section 1601 require that we ask for a special use permit, which we filed, and the provisions of 603, table 02, with the setbacks, dimensional, require that we ask for the 3-foot setback and the 14.5 setback. The plan was prepared by Todd Thomas. I did not ask him to be here tonight. He had a scheduling conflict. I don't have any expert witnesses, but I do have the Kowalczyks here, and they'd be more than happy to be sworn in and answer any questions the board might have in connection with this proposal and their intentions.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Silva. Would anyone on the board like to ask questions of the petitioner?
With regard, you said eventually that the family was going to move in. I mean, you're not intending to use this as a rental property separate, and you're going to move in right away?
No, they have to build it first.
No, I obviously, yeah.
Yeah, and they will be moving in due course, but that's probably best answered by Mr. Kowalczyk.
Come on up, Mr. Kowalczyk. Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear the testimony this evening will be the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
State your name and address for the record.
Thomas Kowalczyk, 9 Beachland Place, Middletown, Rhode Island. Our plan is to build the in-law addition, move into that. And at that point in time, my daughter, son-in-law, and 2 grandchildren will move into the main house.
Okay.
I only asked because differentiating it between an accessory family dwelling versus a two unit. That's why I was asking for the clarification.
I'm sorry.
Is it differentiating it between it being an accessory family dwelling unit versus a 2 unit?
Correct.
Yeah.
And under the code, if it ceases to be occupied by a family member, then it has to be abandoned.
It has to be abandoned.
And basically merged into the main house as part of that structure.
And that's your expectation.
And under the 1600 section, there's an affidavit that I will be preparing for the Kowalczyks, acknowledging that, filing it with the zoning officer, and placing the requirement on Kowalczyks that if anything changes, they're under a legal duty to immediately notify the town in that regard.
Thank you, Mr. Silva.
Yeah.
With that, I'm going to open it up to the public.
Yeah, I have no further evidence. I'm just making offers of proof on behalf of the Kowalczyks.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak either for or against the petition? Seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing. Can I have a motion to accept the special use permit first?
I'll make a motion to accept the special use permit as presented.
Do I have a second?
A second.
I have a first by Eric Curtin, second by Judith Rosenthal. Discussion?
I'm going to vote in favor of it. I believe that the petitioner has shown us that he understands the meaning of the single, of the accessory family dwelling, and I'm gonna vote in favor of it.
Yeah, just as a point of commentary, this is the greatest thing we can do it solves two problems, no offense. It's senior housing on one side, and it's entry-level housing on the other side. So this is a win-win both for your family and for the community. So I too am gonna vote in favor of the special use permit. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Can I have a motion to accept the dimensional variance as presented?
I'll make the motion.
Motion made by Mr. Silvera, and do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
First made by Thomas Silvera, second by Susan Rosenthal. Discussion?
I'm going to vote in favor, given the unique characteristics of the lot, because of the circle. I think it's the least relief necessary. It's also going back towards the vacant Newport land versus towards the neighbors. Seems to make the most sense.
Yeah, I too am gonna vote for it for the same reasons. I think it is a minimal relief required, and the unique characteristics of the lot on the cul-de-sac, tonight's the cul-de-sac night. I think it makes, there really wasn't anywhere else to put it, so. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Mr. Silver. Can you prepare the,
I will be more than happy to prepare the written decision for Mr. Regan, and I just want to share with you how thrilled I am and how happy I am to be able to present to you in person and not have to look at you through Zoom and then losing you. It's been a while. Let's hope that the new variant doesn't interfere with us continuing.
well, I have that Zoom pause where I have to wait. So I pause and I'm waiting for somebody to chime in on the computer.
Well,
So thank you, Mr. Silva.
the board did a great job under the circumstances. What it was as difficult on you as it was on the presenters. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
What's that? Want to take a break?
Just 2 minutes.
Yeah, we're going to take a brief recess of 5 minutes, and we'll be back.
Where'd you find a copy?
Thank you for your patience. Mr. Heaney, who's chided me for being late. Bring us back to order, sir.
Petition of Joseph Zeman, owner, for a variance from section 603, 701, and 803C to construct a dormer on the second floor of the existing non-conforming footprint, remove the existing raised rear deck and replace with a patio on grade, and add an additional side entry door that will decrease the total lot coverage from 39.5% to 25%. Said real estate is located at 18 Draper Avenue and further identified as Lot 28 on Tax Assessor's Plat 121 Northwest.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Hi, hold on one second, let me. The guy. Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear the testimony this evening will be the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, we do.
State your name and address for the record.
My name is Joseph Zeman, Lynn Zeman, my wife. We are resident at 18 Draper Avenue, Middletown, Rhode Island.
Okay, thank you. Tell us about your petition.
So what we're trying to do, we purchased the house last year in August, so actually is a year. Yes, absolutely. And what we're trying to do, we realized the upper bedrooms, there is a 2 bedrooms with a bathroom actually, which is only technically a powder room because there is only a toilet and sink. It's kind of like a Jack and Jill situation. So the first problem is when you're walking up the stairs, the ceiling height right now, but the slope, it's only 5'6". Okay, so any person actually going up needs to go do that. The problem is when I'm 6 foot, my son he's 5'9", my daughter is 5'7". You know, when they're going down the stairs is actually, you know, it's really dangerous. Okay. Second thing is when you're entering the room, left and right, you know, we have a nice ceiling because, you know, it's only a flat portion of 2 feet, which is about 7 feet, but the rest, it's climbing down. It's basically the roof, it's 12.8, whatever you want to take into perspective, so it's basically 30 degrees. And it's climbing down to the 3-foot wall, which that room is basically full use on between, I don't know, 5 to 6 feet. And when you are approaching the back of the house, there is basically no room. So what we're trying to achieve, we're gonna build an extended dormer, full dormer on the back, and you know, we can raise the ceiling height to, I don't know, 6'2" on the back. So, and we're gonna change the slope on the roof, matching the front of the house to 12.3, which that's gonna give us more room height, so we can make 2 reasonable rooms for our kids and or whoever gonna visit us, so maybe we can have it extra guest bedroom or whatever. But right now we need 2 rooms for the 2 children, basically teenagers. Most likely my biggest concern is walking down the stairs, and then that's the big concern, because, you know, everybody's knocking heads there. Through the nighttime, we already did have a little accident when, you know, somebody almost rolled down. Because the other thing is the only 1 full bedroom in the house, you know, downstairs. So we're trying to achieve, maybe we can have the full bedroom upstairs. It's gonna serve these 2 rooms. Maybe we can steal the little space and have a little spare room and make it full bedroom downstairs and full bedroom upstairs. The other thing, there is a backyard, very short backyard, small property. as you see it. We have a deck right now. The deck is about 5 to 6 feet high. All right? So I'm literally sitting on the deck and looking to my neighbor windows. Okay? So I'm saying, you know, no privacy. So what we're trying to do, trying to remove the deck, and basically from the deck, the stairs going almost to the fence, okay? So if we're gonna remove that and bring everything down, basically make the patio, okay? So we are increasing the lot of space in the backyard, and also we're gonna make it smaller.
Okay.
So 39.5 whatever percentage, you know, we're gonna decrease coverage to 25%, make it backyard bigger, not interfering with the neighbors, not looking what they're eating for the dinner.
And everything that you're building is over the existing floor
Over
plan?
the existing, everything is existing space. What we just really trying to achieve to have a more headroom in the house.
Okay, very good.
And also making a side door entrance, because right now we are walking to the house directly to the kitchen.
Okay, I think we've heard enough, unless anyone has any questions for the applicant.
No.
I'd like to open it up to the public, so I think we've heard enough. I think I understand exactly what you're doing. I was a little confused about when I read your petition about the deck.
Yeah.
Because it looked at first that it was increasing, but it's actually decreasing.
It
So
is,
that's,
it is,
that's
yeah.
perfect. Let me open it up to the public, and then we'll see if anyone
Sure.
wants to
Okay,
speak for or against it. Thank you for your
thank
time.
you so much for hearing us.
The variance reads that it's increasing from 30 to 39.
Yeah, it's a
but
mistake.
That's a mistake,
That's
because
a
the deck's
mistake.
going away.
It's been it's going from a deck to a patio on grade, which doesn't affect square footage.
So they didn't subtract that when
So
they
it's
did the
it's
ca- the new
decreasing
calculation.
from
It's-
39 to 25.
Yeah, exactly. And that's
And
in
it's
the,
also-
it's
it's
in my
also-
petition
Yeah,
that I have here.
and it's also increasing the setback.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think it's very minimal relief. Let me ask, is anyone in the audience that would like to speak for or against the petition? Seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing. Can I have a motion to accept their petition as presented?
I'll make the motion to grant the petition as presented.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Judith. We have a first and second. Can I have discussion?
Yeah, I've been on the zoning board for, I think, about 5 to 6 years, and this is the first time I've ever seen that the lot coverage got reduced. So this is a first for me, and I can say obviously that based on the efforts of the Siemens here to make those improvements, as well as not purposefully but inadvertently invading their neighbor's privacy with the current deck and willing to go to a patio, I think they're definitely making improvements in the existing lot, as well as increasing the safety aspect for the habitants, particularly the children who occupy the upstairs bedroom. So I'm definitely going to support it.
Any other discussion? I'm going to support it for the exact same reason. Thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Zima. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Right, last one.
Let me make sure I have the right one. Bennett. I got it right here.
Petition of Beck and Jacqueline Bennett, owner, for a variance from sections 603 and 701 to demolish a non-conforming garage and rebuild a two-story garage in the same location, resulting in an 11-foot rear yard setback where 15 feet is required, and a 9-foot side yard setback where 20 feet is required. Said real estate is located at 333 Turner Road and further identified as Lot 226 on Tax Assessor's Plat 113.
Thank you. Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear the testimony this evening will be the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
State your name and address for the record.
My name is Beck Bennett. I live at 333 Turner Road, Middletown, Rhode Island.
Okay, thank you. And you are?
I'm Chris Arner, I'm the architect.
Okay, raise your right hand, please. Do you swear the testimony this evening will be the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
State your name and address for the record.
Chris Arner, my office is at 1 Washington Street in Newport.
Thank you.
Warner, is that correct?
A-R-N-E-R.
Tell us about your project. Either way, you can have the architect do it, whoever wants to do it.
Sure, I'll start. Beck can kind of give you a little history about how long he's owned the house and you know, the internal layout of the existing house. But in terms of the garage addition, as mentioned, there's currently an existing one-story garage located on the southwest corner of the property. Currently, it's 9 feet from the south property line and 11 feet from the west property line. The garage, I think, was built in 2 phases over a number of years. Part of it's a slab on grade, and it measures about 12 feet high at the current peak. So it's in poor condition. Beck would like to remove that garage, build a new 2-story garage, a single garage door across the front, maintain the south and west setbacks, which are, again, 9 and 11. So we're basically building over the existing footprint of those corners. We are proposing to add a second floor to the structure, really just to be used as family space, guest space, not rental by any means. And in order to service that, we have a stair going up the north side of the house, an external stair to a door into the sitting area, and then there's an outdoor deck that occupies the northeast corner of the garage. Currently, the existing house, it's considered a 3-bedroom house. There's 1 bedroom on the first floor, and it's the second and third bedroom are on the second floor of the existing house. Technically, it's really a 1-bedroom. Their son lives up there now. He's young. It's just an open room with a closet. It's really not, it's not divided up, so they don't really have any guest space in the house. The basement is, slab to underside of joist, 6'10" or so. So there's really no space that could be used down there as habitable. With the opportunity to rebuild the garage, Beck thought it would be in his best interest to add some additional space up above, solely to be used by his family, and that's it. So with that, I can have Beck. Yeah.
Okay, Beck.
Good evening. How are you? Thanks for hearing me tonight. I'm a lifelong resident of Middletown. I've lived here for 39 years. I live about a mile up the road from my parents. I live down on Paradise. My wife and I bought the house approximately 10 years ago, back in 2010. Soon to be 11 years. I think we purchased it in September. I love Middletown, and I've lived here my whole life. I want to continue to live here my whole life. I work on the island. I have a very good relationship with both my abutters, my direct abutters to the west, Alan and Elaine Kirby, and to the south, Carol Lewis, who unfortunately isn't in the best of health, but I do have a relationship with her, a very amicable relationship with her daughter, Debbie. I've shown the plans to both neighbors. They have not posed any objections. Both were very enthusiastic about it. Part of the plans and the reason why I enlisted Chris to help us design it is to be mindful of everyone's privacy. That is displayed in the drawings with the limit of windows, especially looking south. And to the west, I did, again, both my neighbors have had access to the plans. I've shown them the plans, and they were both in favor of us going forward. I look at it as an extension of my house. I have a young son, and he lives now upstairs, which is kind of just, it was a dormer they put on, I think back in 1972 when I looked at the permitting for it. It's really just an open space, and has like a half wall in between it with a half bath, so it's good for him. And then my wife and I have moved downstairs into the, I guess, original guest room, and the house, it's a little tight. However, we've, since we've bought the house, we've always wanted to make improvements and bring the house, make it look nice and keep things well maintained. The same thing with the garage. And this is really just, I'm looking at it as just kind of an extension of our home. My mother-in-law spends a lot of time over there as well, and no one really has a place to stay. She helps a lot with childcare, so.
So I noted on your drawing that there's no kitchen facilities,
No.
correct? Right, because that would make it a dwelling unit, so.
Yeah, and full disclosure, the only, the only questions I've been asked by my neighbors is this going to be an Airbnb, and that is absolutely not. I have no interest in having strangers there.
Okay.
So, that's why we don't have a kitchen there, it's just a sink, and again, it's just kind of an extra space, so, hopefully my son, when he's older, he could stay there and give mom and dad a little space in the house, or if my mother-in-law stays there, or we have we very rarely have guests, but that's kind of the intention of the space.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for the petitioner?
You mentioned two abutters. On the map, it shows you have 3 direct abutters. Is the same thing true for the third abutter that they don't object?
Yes, sorry. So directly to the north of me, the only question, there's an empty acre lot to the north of me, which Alan used to own. And in hindsight, I wish I had purchased it. He had offered it to me to purchase, and again, hindsight's always 20/20, but I didn't. And then across the street, obviously the Hugendorns. I know Dick and Victor, and they have a really significant piece of property there that I hope always stays open. But the only question we had, again, from all the abutters, and I'm sorry to bring that up initially, was, is this going to be an Airbnb? And absolutely not. This is just an extension of our home.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Any other questions for the petitioner? I think we can close the public hearing and see if there's anyone in the audience that would like to speak for or against it.
My neighbor said one of them said they were going to show up to see.
That's good. Seeing that there's no objections, I'm going to close the public hearing and ask for a motion to accept the petition.
Mr. Chairman, just as a suggestion, if the indication is that there's not going to be short-term rentals, and that was the concern of the neighbors, the board might want to consider making that a condition of approval at the board's discretion.
I don't, if Mr. Souza was here, he would have a speech about property rights.
Well, no, I just mentioned it because of the testimony, that was the concern of the abutters, and the statement that he made that it was not.
I like the fact that we have a competent building official that's going to go out and enforce the building code, so.
Okay. Well, I just only mentioned if there's no condition, there's nothing that would prevent this applicant or a subsequent owner from utilizing it as a short-term rental.
Okay. So if you'd like to put that into the motion.
At what point is an accessory use structure not, a primary structure? I mean, so the side yard setback is the same. So ultimately, I think I'm okay with this because they're 20 feet and 20 feet, but I don't think this is an accessory use structure anymore when you're putting living space above it.
It would become a primary structure if there was a kitchen.
A kitchen.
So it would become a primary dwelling unit if there were provisions for eating, sleeping.
It would be a separate unit, but it's still primary dwelling if he's going to use it for his family or additional living space.
An accessory structure, accessory family dwelling unit would be treated almost exactly like the principal meeting principal setback, because it becomes a dwelling.
Yeah.
Right.
That's even the in-law, it would be asking for more relief being an in-law than it is just a shed with a glorified guest room.
Yeah.
But, so the arrangement without a kitchen would be in the same category if it was a gym on the second floor.
Sure.
If it was a home office or an art studio on the second floor. It fits into that same category. It's when you add that kitchen that it becomes a primary.
By the way, I appreciate the transparency of showing exactly what you're going to do with it, because a lot of people would call it a gym or call it an art studio.
Yeah, we've done a lot of art studios.
Yes, a lot of art studios.
I may remember for the next 9 years, 1 month, and a few days, but it's what's going to transpire down the road, 10 years, 12 years, 15.
Yeah.
That's the only reason with the conditions, and it's a good, I don't get reminded of this, you forget. Conditions, sometimes I have it on paper, I don't have transcripts or anything.
Yeah,
You know?
and obviously, I assume everyone here is local.
That's all,
local
that's all
resident,
That's all the conditionary stuff meant. We're not trying to accuse anybody of anything. It's just-
It's okay, like anyone who's kind of driven by you'd be, I don't know how you would rent the space, like you'd have a stranger on top of you. So, that's not,
Good.
again, it's not what it is for.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Well, I'm not voting on this tonight. I'm sensitive to Mr. Regan's point about the condition. What the applicant's intentions are, I believe exactly what you're saying. I believe that's what you intend to do. But the fact of the matter is, 10 years from now, if someone else owns that property, if someone should own that property, and use it for something different, it would be good to have something on the record that said there was a condition that
They can come back.
I'm very sensitive to this issue
That's
for a
fine.
lot of reasons, and I think that something the board should consider, not only tonight, but down the road, when you're granting things like this, that we need to be cognizant of what's going to happen in the future. It's just the direction this town is going in. If we're not sensitive to that now, we may pay for it later. So, it's quality of life in our neighborhoods, and it's could change drastically as we go, and it's changing drastically now. So I would strongly suggest that the board consider making the condition as Mr. Regan
I'll
has
accept the
suggested.
condition as part of it. So if I can have a motion,
Excuse me, can you just clarify what, I'm just curious exactly what that means. You need me to sign something, like an affidavit?
no, it just
Oh,
means
oh.
we're gonna put it into the zoning, the decision that we're making, that's gonna restrict it from being a Airbnb in the future.
Which will carry
And
forward with,
it's not for you, Beck,
Yep.
it's for the
Okay.
guy that buys it down the road.
I 100% agree with that.
Okay.
Yeah, and
it'll carry forward with the next buyer.
Right.
Absolutely, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, my suggestion would be, in terms of if you're going to make that a condition, that it not be used as a short-term rental or rooming house.
Right.
Since that's the verbiage that's in our zoning
Right.
ordinance.
Mr. Heaney, if you can make that motion, I'll take copious notes.
Or what kind of house?
Rooming.
Rooming.
Yeah, short-term rental or rooming house.
Okay, so, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to accept the applicant's application with the condition that the second floor addition would not be used as a short-term rental or a rooming house or a rental property of any kind in the future.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
First by Mr. Heaney, second by Eric Curtin. Discussion?
Well, I'm gonna vote in favor. I believe that the petitioner has shown that it's reasonably necessary for the full enjoyment of his permitted use on his own house. He has, I sincerely believe.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? I too am gonna vote in favor for all the same reasons, and I appreciate you accepting the condition of the board.
Absolutely, I don't want to see the town, go that way either. Again, I've lived here my whole life, and so.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, have a good night.
Thank you, too, as well, thanks.
Gotta get a motion first.
Oh, can I have a motion to close the meeting? It's been a while.
I make a motion, we close the meeting.
Motion made and seconded.
All
Thank
in
you, Mr.
favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Regan, for your sage advice.